backwards.
It is backwards, but all the pertinent information is in there. My name is Lauren Carlton, and I am the professor of this solo independent study class in devised theater, which is a lot of fancy words to basically say this project started with the genesis of no text. All we looked at were theatrical forms, like props and costumes and hair and makeup. And then we started to dive into text. So everything that you will be seeing today is created from our performer, Emily Crow, aka Piper, who you will meet in just a second if you had not already had the pleasure to do so. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. This is a traveling production. At one point we will move to the rocks over here. We ask that folks who would like to be seated in the chairs get first pick for those seats, and then we'll fill in on the rocks next to them. So without further ado, I would like to welcome to the gazebo stage, Miss Emily Crow.
I don't want to grow up. Adults are like really complicated. Like so complicated. And sometimes they lie about things. I mean, adults aren't supposed to lie, they tell us not to lie. But then they lie. Like my mom, yeah. So when Aunt Jessica tells her that we should go out to dinner, my mom says she's sick. She's not sick. She just likes pajamas and ice cream. Like, why can't she just tell her that? That is so much more simple. Also, adults, they keep secrets. They don't think that we know, but we know. You know the best way to tell if someone's keeping a secret? So you go and you sneak into a room and you don't let them see you. And then you're like, hi! And their eyes get really big and they're like, as if they weren't just secret talking, but they were, we know. The only time a secret is a good secret is when you're trying not to get into trouble for taking the last cookie. That is a really good secret. You know, adults also are the ones that usually write the books for us kids, and they overcomplicate them way more than is needed. There's this one story, it's about the Snow Queen. Okay, there are these two friends. One is a girl and one is a boy. I also have a boy best friend, and I don't care if Amanda thinks it's weird. He's cool. Well, maybe he's not cool, but he's my friend, right? And so these two best friends were out playing one day when the boy was like, ow, my eye hurts. And then he was like, ow, my heart hurts. But what they didn't know was there was a magic mirror, okay? If you didn't know, magic mirrors in fairy tales are never a good sign, right? So this magic mirror was magic because anytime you showed something in it, it made it look ugly. It made it look really mean and ugly, and it broke into a bunch of tiny little pieces, and that's what got in the boy's eye and his heart. So he started seeing everything as mean and ugly, and he started acting really mean and ugly, and that's not nice. When I act mean and ugly, my mom tells me to take a nap, and then I'm all better. But that didn't work for him. They also could not put a Band-Aid on it because it's his eye and his heart, and that's not logical. My mom says Band-Aids are magic. Anyway, so the boy decided that it was a really good idea to tie his sled to the back of a horse sleigh and get on it. And when the horses took off, so did the boy. And everyone in the village thought he died because there was a snowstorm. So everyone was kind of sad, and the girl was so sad because she had lost her best friend. Except she couldn't have been too sad because the birds and the sun kept telling her he was alive. So I know that a lot of Disney princesses talk to animals like the birds, but I have never heard of the sun talking to anyone. Like maybe in a weird YouTube video once, but like, what would the sun even sound like? I have no idea. Anyway, so she was like, guess I gotta go look for him. So she got into a boat and she floated away. Where did she think she was going? The sun did not tell her that information, and that would have been really useful. But anyway, the boy, his name was Kay, by the way. He found out that the sleigh he tied his sled to belonged to the Snow Queen. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Her name was not Elsa. When we read it in school, I was hoping that we could watch Frozen afterwards, and that didn't happen. I know you're disappointed. I was disappointed too, but it's okay. I'll let it go. But the Snow Queen did not let Kay go. But then again, he also did not try to escape very hard, and I think it's because the Snow Queen was pretty. I think the Snow Queen's real name was Amanda. Everyone loves Amanda, even though she's not very nice. Anyway, so the girl was looking for her friend, right? And so she met an old lady, and the old lady, yeah, that happened. And there were some birds that she talked to, and they sent her to a princess and a prince. They were like, yeah, we'll help you. And they gave her a golden carriage to ride in. Great idea. But they got robbed. Because it's a golden carriage. And there was a robber girl who was really mean. But then she was really nice. And then she got a pet reindeer. And she got on the reindeer and she went all the way to an old lady who sent her to another old lady. It was a whole ordeal. Anyway, so after all of this time, so much time, she finally finds her friend Kay in a snow palace. And he wasn't a frozen popsicle. A lot of time had passed from when he was gone to when she found him. Maybe the castle was magic, because otherwise, I think he would probably have been dead. Anyway, so she finds him, and she goes and she gives him a big hug, and he starts to cry because he is cold and he is tired. I also would have cried. But when he cried, the mirror that was in his eye came out. How did he not cry when it got in his eye? If glass went and got in my eye, I would definitely cry, and then I'd probably go blind because there was glass in my eye. And then after that, she gave him a kiss on the cheek and his frostbite disappeared. That is not how frostbite works. Why is this story so complicated? Like, there are 3 old ladies in it. 3. That is too many. If I had written this story, it would have been really simple. You ready? The Snow Queen swoops in and steals the boy away. Yes, on purpose. And then the girl's like, I will save him. And she gets on a reindeer and goes after him. And then there's a fierce battle. Because, you know, gotta keep it interesting. So they battle, the Snow Queen and the girl. And then she saves the day. The end. That would have been so much more simple, and then it would have resulted the same way. Sometimes adults get so busy, staying busy and keeping with all the cool stuff going on, that they forget that the goal is kind of simple. Anyway, so there's other stories too, like that one. But did you know that adults aren't always nice? Sometimes adults also hide how they're feeling. I don't do this. If I'm mad at Amanda, I yell at her. Then I get in trouble for it. But at least she knows how I'm feeling. Like, I'm not pretending like, we're best friends. No, I'm like, ah! Sometimes, even princesses aren't very nice. There's this story about a princess who is not very nice at all, right? But it's actually, the main character is this guy who's like a prince, but he's not a prince. And he's kind of like a servant, but he's better than that. But everyone thinks he's really handsome. So he works for this really wise king. And the wise king was so wise because he had a secret food. If I had a secret food, it would be mac and cheese. My mom lets me put the powder in it and stir it up and it changes color, and it was so cool. But when the guy looked, it wasn't mac and cheese. It was a white snake. Ew. I don't know about you, but I have never eaten a snake, and that sounds really gross. Anyway, the guy decided it would be a good idea to eat it. Not a good idea in my books. But after that, he got on a horse. Anyone on a horseback ride? on a horseback ride? Come on, come on. We're going on a horseback ride. Yep, see? Get on your horse. And go up, go up, go up, go up, go up.
Everybody waiting?
It was a really, really long horseback ride. But when he got to a part of the forest, he started hearing voices. Where were the voices coming from? And then he heard it. There was a tiny little fish. And he got stuck in some seaweed. And he couldn't breathe. And the guy, because he ate the white snake, he could hear animals talk now. So he was like, I will save you. And he untangled the fish. And the fish was like, oh, I remember you saved me. He saved the fish, okay? Anyway, so he kept getting on his horse, and he kept on riding. And he heard another voice. And they were like, those humans, they are so rude. They are so rude. They keep stepping on us. They keep stepping on us. And he looked down, and there were a bunch of ants all over the ground. And so he did the good thing and stepped off the path. And the ant king was like, thank you. Thank you. And he saved the ants. Yay. Wherever you want it. No, you have to keep yours either. Anyway, so the guy got back on his horse. It went boom, 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 boom. And he heard another voice. But this time, it was a scream. And it was like, and he looked over. And a tiny little bird, who was just a baby, fell out of the tree. And he was too small, and he couldn't fly. And he was hungry, and he was going to die because he couldn't find any food to eat. So, he gave him an Oreo from his lunch. That way, the bird wouldn't starve to death. After all that time, he finally got to a kingdom out of the forest, you know. And that kingdom was ruled by a king and a princess. Our princess, every time I point at you, you have to say no. And a king.
Oh, yeah.
Go. So this king was like, anyone who can do this impossible act can marry my daughter. And the guy was like, I can do it. Yes. So they went into this really deep pond. And the king was like, throw this thing over there. And he was like, you're gonna get this ring from the water.
You're gonna get this ring from the water.
It was really deep. Not sure about this. But luckily, before he even had to get into the water, the fishy brought him the ring. So he presented it to the king. He was like, now I can marry your daughter. But the princess said, no. That was the deal. I got the ring, so now I get to marry your daughter. No. So, you can hold on to that. The princess did something not very nice. She threw this popcorn on the ground. Like all of it. Yeah. And she said that in order to marry her, the guy had to pick up every single piece of popcorn on the ground. All of them. By morning, or otherwise he couldn't marry her. So he got to work. Ugh. But then he fell asleep. And that night, he had to come and pick up all the popcorn. He got it all picked up! And when he woke up the next day, thank you, Aunt! And he presented it to the princess. I picked up the popcorn.
No way.
So this time, she said that in order to marry her, the guy had to find a golden apple from the tree of life. I don't know where that is. So he got back on his horse and started riding. Nope. And he couldn't find it anywhere. But then, out of nowhere, the raven that saved earlier brought him a golden apple. The raven had flown all the way to the end of the world to retrieve the golden apple. Golden apple, yeah. So he presented it to the princess. And this time she didn't say
No.
she said yes. It was great. And they got married in the end. Very nice. This story is a lot of fun, but kind of confusing. That princess was not very nice. Like, he was trying so hard to marry her. She kept saying no. She pushed him away just because he wasn't a prince and he didn't have money. It was really, really, really sad. Why do adults do that? Why do they push people away? When I mean or I upset someone, I give them a hug. And then they feel better. I think the princess just needed more hugs. The idea that her heart wasn't very happy wasn't a secret to anyone. You know the other story that has a secret in it? The 12 Dancing Princesses. I love this story. I got it as a book and it came with a necklace. It was so cool. But I lost the necklace. Kind of like how the prince, or the king, loses all of his daughters on like page 1. So, the story is about this king, and every morning he wakes up and finds that his daughter's shoes have holes in them, even if he buys the expensive ones that aren't from Walmart. And so he decides he needs to fix the problem, right, and figure out the secret. So he emails everyone in the kingdom, and it's like, hey guys, their shoes have holes. I can use some help, thanks. And he sends it to everyone in the entire kingdom. Whew. So this guy gets the email, and he's like, I can do it. I have an invisible cloak, like in Harry Potter. So he shows up, and it's like, hey king, I can figure out the secret. Cool. So the king has him go in and watch the girls so that he can figure out the secret. Well, the girls were way too smart for that. They figured out a plan. They were going to put sleeping powder in the guy's water so that he'd fall asleep and not figure out their secret. So they put it in the water. Then something confusing happens. The guy doesn't drink the water that they give him. They do one of those things like in the movies where they like pretend to drink it, but then they throw it over the shoulder. Yeah. And then he pretends to sleep. How did he know he shouldn't pretend to like die? It could have been poisoned. Anyway, so the girls think their secret is safe, and they go through a hole in their floor, and they dance all night long with these guys, right? I could not dance all night long. I would be tired. Anyway, the guy follows the girls down the hole, and then he sees that they're dancing all night, and that's why they have holes in their shoes. So the next morning, he goes to the king, and is like, I know their secret. And he tells the king, and the king calls all of the girls into the room, and is like, is this the truth? And they're like, yeah, it is. And then he like marries the oldest daughter as his ward and stuff. Okay. Why did the king not just ask the girls? Okay, let's be honest. All of this could have been avoided had he just been like, hey, so are you dancing out all night? Is that like why there's holes in your shoes? They probably would have said yes. Well, it was a secret, right? Also at the end, when he asked them, they told the truth. They didn't be like, no, that's not it at all. No, they told the truth. it's really easy to get answers if you ask questions. They went and made a big deal, emailing everyone, when they could have just asked. They made a big deal over nothing. Do you know another story that went and made a big deal out of nothing? The red shoes. The little girl just wanted to wear red shoes and dance. I mean, what was the problem? So, oh, you guys don't know what I'm talking about, do you? Okay, so there's this story, right, about this little girl who's getting bigger and taller and older, and she needs new shoes for church, right? So she goes to the shoe store. And the old lady is like, you have to wear black shoes, because that's what everyone has to wear to church. But when the little girl, her name was Karen, by the way. She's not like those Karens, though, so you don't have to worry. Anyway, so Karen, when she was younger, had seen the princess of the kingdom, and she had these beautiful red shoes, and she wanted to be just like the princess. So when she was at the shoe store and she saw a pair of red shoes, yeah, she went and got those instead of the black ones. And I think the lady might have been colorblind, because she didn't say anything. I don't wear black shoes to church. I wear pink ones. I really like my pink shoes. But she liked the red ones. So, the next morning, she went and to church with her brand new red shoes. Things did not go over well. Everyone was so mad at her for not wearing black shoes. What's the big deal? Her shoes are just a different color. But instead of just being like, you know, we can get you a new pair of shoes, like, your red shoes are really nice. No. You know what they did? Do you know what they did? They took away her shoes at church. I am so glad that my church is not like that. I can wear my pink shoes and I won't get in trouble for it. But no, they took away her red shoes, and it was so sad. So, you know what she did? She went and stole them back so that she got her red shoes back. And she really liked dancing, and her shoes were really good for dancing. Ready? Yay! Can you guys dance? Come on. We're gonna dance now. Let's go. Ready? We're gonna and we're gonna go back over and dance over here. Come on. Ready?
Dance, Mom.
You're such a natural. Can you leave too? Jump. Jump. And spin. And she was oh, that was really good. You all are wonderful dancers. Anyway, so she was dancing, and she was spinning, and she was an amazing dancer. And then guess what? What? Guess what? Her mom died. And that's not happy. So just ignore I said that. That didn't actually happen. Nope. She was dancing, and she got really good at dancing, and her shoes were magic shoes, so she became the best dancer ever, and she became the princess because she was the best dancer ever. The end. Okay. Maybe that's not how the story ends. But the real ending, woo! Not kid friendly, okay? Her feet get cut off.
What?
Okay? Why would you put that in a children's book? I don't want to read a story where the girl's feet cut off and she gets wood feet instead. Oh, no thank you. I like my ending much better. Yeah, definitely. Sometimes adults forget that being special and different isn't bad. Sometimes we try so hard to be like every other person and match everyone that we forget that being special just makes us more special, not bad. For instance, I think crows are really pretty birds. Even though some people like think they're evil and stuff. Like one time I was reading this book at school that had so pretty pictures, like the prettiest pictures ever. Stick. So it was a Native American story. And it was really cool. It was about the first time it had ever snowed. See? Snow, 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 snow. And it was snowing so much, and all of the animals were freezing because they didn't have houses. Also, hot chocolate was not invented. I asked my teacher. And Amanda laughed at me. I just wanted to know, because when I'm cold, I drink hot chocolate to warm up, and I feel better. But it's not invented. So, all the animals were freezing to death. So they had to get together and talk about what to do. There was an owl. There it is. There was an owl, and there was also this like fox. There's a snake, and he has a really fluffy tail. Yeah. And then there was a rainbow crow. So this crow doesn't look like the crows we have now, okay? It was like the best crow ever because it was rainbow. There's his wings, and his tail feathers, and there's his like head. There we go. Yeah. So they all got together and they were like, we gotta figure out this. And they decided that they had to go talk to the god. And it's a Native American story, so it's not like the god you hear about in church. His name was really long and complicated. It was like Calig. We'll call him Key. Yeah. So he was up here. He'd be white, yeah. In the clouds. Yeah. So they decided they had to figure out who was gonna go talk to him so that they weren't gonna freeze to death. So they decided the owl couldn't go because it was during the day, and that's when owls sleep. So he was really tired, so he couldn't go. And the fox couldn't go because he was a troubled child. At least that's what my mom calls me when I'm goofing off and not paying attention. So they couldn't trust him to go. So the only one that could go is the rainbow crow. It helped that he could fly there and that he had a really pretty singing voice. So the bird went flew, 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 and flew all the way up to Key. But Key was not paying attention to him. You want to know why? Because he was making snow. That's why everyone was freezing, was because he was making snow. But he didn't realize that it was hurting everyone. And so the rainbow crow started to sing to get Key's attention. And then he was like, it's cold! And Key decided to do something good. And he gave him fire. Fire! Gave him fire. But he's like, you have to be careful. Because fire is dangerous. You have to fly back really, really fast, all the way back. Because you could catch on fire and that would not be good. So, he got ready. And he started flying really fast. All the way back to Earth. But then, he caught on fire! It was so sad. I mean, I guess he did save everyone in the end. They got the fire and all warmed up. But, the crow wasn't really rainbow anymore. He was all black. Because he got on fire. He also, he couldn't sing anymore because he had taken too much smoke and now he sounded like a smoker. It's a really sad story. But you have to wonder, why did the crow get punished for saving everyone, right? He went when none of the other animals were going to. If he had to have gone to talk to Key, everyone would have froze to death. But he went anyway and saved the day, and he got punished for it. Doesn't seem very fair to me. The other animals weren't gonna do it. They both had excuses they wouldn't go for. And so he decided to step up and do it, and he got punished for it. I understand understand that he had to catch on fire, so he couldn't be beautiful again. I wish he could have at least sung again. That would have been really cool. I would have liked to hear a crow sing. Do you know another story where someone caught on fire? It's not me. It's the story of Icarus. He caught on fire, but that's a spoiler, okay? I think that humans weren't made to fly. I mean, I understand flying in airplanes, but like, if God had wanted us to fly, he would have given us wings like fairies. And he didn't. But anyway, so the story is about Icarus's dad and Icarus. And they were stuck in a tower. Kind of like Rapunzel, but they decided not to grow their hair long. So, they were stuck in a tower. And Icarus's dad came to him and was like, Icarus, I'm gonna build us wings. But I don't have any glue. I only have wax and feathers. See where this is going? Yeah. So, he was like, now, you can't fly too close to the sun because the wax will melt and you'll fall. I can't believe I'd have to tell this to you, but you are a reckless teenager. And Icarus was like, come on, Dad, I'm totally responsible. We're gonna fly like birds. But Icarus's dad responded and was like, Icarus, also don't get too close to the water because the feathers will get wet and then you'll fall into the water. Fly responsibly. Icarus then rolled his eyes and his dad didn't like that because he's a dad. So they got ready and they jumped and they were flying and it was so cool, but then Icarus flew a little too high and he fell. Wait. Like a chicken being dropped off the roof of a building. I wonder if Icarus knew that not all birds could fly. This is a really cool story. I like it better than a lot of the stories. It's a lot simpler, but also, if my dad had came up to me and was like, if you don't do this, you're gonna die, I would definitely listen. Okay, Amanda might not, but she's Amanda. Okay? I would listen. I'm sure her dad was talking really seriously, being like, Icarus, you have to listen to me. And if my dad was doing that, I would definitely listen. It's not like he was like, haha, you should kind of listen to me, you know. No, he was serious. But also, could Icarus not swim? I don't know. Anyway, he should have listened to his dad. I listen to my dad. My dad sometimes likes to tell me bedtime stories, and they're always so cool. There's this one story that he tells me. It's super fun to listen to. So, it took place a long time ago. It's another Native American story. Okay. There was a chief who had 3 children. There were 2 sons, and they had died in the war, and so he really loved his daughter. And when it came time for the daughter to get married, he went and he picked the very best possible guy for him to marry. It was going to be great, it was going to be a huge wedding, and it was going to be beautiful. But then something bad happened. The world got sick. Like, everyone in the world started getting sick, kind of like COVID, but they didn't have masks. And people started dying. And on their wedding day, that's when the sickness came to their village. It was like someone took the mirror from the Snow Queen and held it up to the village so they only could be sad. So, people started dying. So, the chief got together all of his best smart people. Yeah, he collected all the smart people together and was like, all right, you guys better start thinking. And start praying. And thinking some more. And they did. And they all started thinking, and they all started praying. And you know what they said? Do you know what they said? All but one of them said they were going to die. That everyone was destined to die. But one person said something different. One guy said he heard from an even older guy who had already died because that's how old he was. That one day a sickness was gonna come. And the only way to make the sickness go away was for one of the chief's daughters to die. Woo! So, the chief got together all of the daughters of all of the chiefs and was like, and he told them the truth. He didn't lie about it. He told them the complete truth. And you know what he did? He didn't pick a girl to die. He told all of the girls to go home and prepare to meet death. Whew! That's heavy. So, the chief's daughter, she got really worried because people kept dying and getting sick. And she couldn't help but wonder if maybe she should be the one, to die. But she had just gotten married and they were gonna have kids and they were gonna have all these great plans and it was gonna be awesome. But then the worst thing ever happened. Her husband got sick. It was really sad. So she knew what she had to do. She started walking and walking and walking. And she got all the way to the top of the cliff and she jumped. And just like that, everyone got better. Everyone was cured. There wasn't people dying anymore. And it was great. But not everyone was happy. The chief knew what had happened. So we got together all of the girls, did an attendance check, and only his daughter didn't say here. So the entire village got together and they started walking and walking. And they got to the cliff where the girl had died. And instead of seeing a normal cliff, there was a beautiful waterfall. And everyone was sad. But everyone was also happy. Because while the girl did die, people weren't dying anymore. She saved so many people. Like, not just her husband and not just the people that she lived with, but like everyone. Just with her one little thing she did. She knew what she had to do. And she did it. It was that simple. I think adults get so caught up in being busy and being like everyone else and not always being truthful with people that they forget that the goal of life is